Welcome, everybody, to the Harsch Review, a TV, movie, and pop culture podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me is my brother, Sean. How's it going, Sean?
What's up, Ryan?
Not much. Gonna be all over this podcast. Got a lot of stuff to talk about.
It's called the Ryan Harsch Review.
That's right. I'm edging you out.
Yep, he's getting me out. It's okay.
That's, pushing you over.
Take it over, man. What do you got? Let's do it.
Oh, not much. Okay, you want to just jump right in?
I don't know. Sure, you're you call it, man.
My call. Well, I got some news stories for everybody. Then we got a couple of movies to talk about. So first thing I got is everybody's talking about Avengers Endgame. Do you have your tickets?
I do.
Yeah, same here. There was a press conference recently, and it's kind of corny, but like we all know what happened to the end of the other Avengers. Well, at this press conference, there were some empty chairs representing the fallen colleagues.
That's pretty dumb.
Yeah, right. So it's like, hey, you understand what's going on here? One thing happened that Chris Evans let something slip about the fate of his character. Didn't really say what exactly, and then they quickly changed the subject.
We know Captain America's got to die.
Yeah, come on. That's who I have my money on dying.
Yeah.
There's a tip of the hat to Jon Favreau. I don't know if you remember, but he kind of launched the MCU into existence.
Yeah, with Iron Man, right?
Yeah. So he introduced the press conference for the movie. That's pretty much seen as the end of an era, but there's other stuff I'm sure coming. It's not over, but pretty big deal. You know. Yeah, so that's Avengers Endgame news for you. We'll keep that coming.
Okay.
Little bit of a poetic justice for you here. This is off the movie media grid, but we have poaching happens all the time, and especially in Africa. Well, a rhino poacher, met his fate. He was hunting rhinos in the Kruger National Park of South Africa, and karma kind of came his way. He was trampled by elephants, and then he was eaten by a pack of lions.
Oh, so you said karma. I thought that was like the name of like some well-known rhino or something.
Oh, yeah, right. Police were informed of the incident. They were told about losing their member, and then they found the remains of the poacher. He was killed by the elephant stampede, and then the only things found on him were a skull and a pair of jeans. I guess the tigers don't have or the lions don't have much of a taste for denim.
That's a movie?
No, this is a real event.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was confused.
This
I thought it
is
was
some made-up shit.
Yeah, this culture podcast.
This is for real. Yeah, well, this is interesting.
No,
this is kind of off the grid. We could talk about other stuff, right?
Yeah. I just was like trying to go, wait, what are we talking about?
Try to fit it into the context.
Yeah.
Indications found at the scene suggested that a pride of lions had devoured the remains, leaving only the human skull and a pair of pants. And they're still investigating the incident, but it's pretty clear what happened. The other poachers were, of course, arrested. And then, pretty much everything went down. So,
all right.
That's what happens. Don't mess with nature.
Don't mess with nature.
Speaking of nature, this is on my list. I haven't seen it yet, but Netflix released a documentary called Our Planet.
I've seen some of it.
Okay.
It's just like the other ones, like Blue Planet and, all those other ones.
Right. Is Attenborough, he's the narrating?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's
great.
He's juicing it up.
He's my favorite. There's a graphic scene in there of walruses falling to their death. A lot of people are kind of freaking out about it, taking to Twitter and whatnot, saying, I'm traumatized. It's an 8-part series. Basically, that particular scene I mentioned happens in Russia, where there's dissipating ice levels. They've impacted the walrus population. The production crew recorded a herd of walruses trying to climb a cliff near ocean that used to be covered in ice, and then a lot of them fell from the ledge to the ground, leaving them either severely injured or dying on impact. A lot of people were saying they were very traumatized by the whole thing. Netflix kind of responded, not really backing down. They're just saying,
tough shit.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much this is how it is. It's a valid I mean, kind of like the focus of the scene is just how, we have an impact and how, things like whatever they're calling it these days, global warming, are affecting everything in our environment. And that's one of them. So, that's pretty much a commentary also on this change in the coastline during the 35 years that a Russian biologist is commenting on it. So,
well, I mean, maybe people weren't expecting it, and they're sitting there hanging out with their kids watching walruses explode on impact. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, nature's nature, so can't hide from that brutal truth. I mean, the episode I watched had some turtles getting it on, so
yeah,
it is what it is.
It's fun. Yeah. A little more nature news, and I'm done with that. I'm sure you know about this. We found a black hole this week. Got a picture of it.
I saw that.
Looks kind of like a flaming glazed donut. That's kind of how it looks. First ever photo is a big deal. First ever photo of a black hole. It's 53.49 million light years away. The center is pretty much, it's huge. It's 6.5 billion times the mass of the sun, all containing a single point of infinite density.
Jeez, sound pretty wise there.
Yeah. So, the reddish and white light surrounding the material is being destroyed by the gravity of the black hole. I don't want to get into the physics of the whole thing, but it's kind of cool. So that's kind of a very big deal. Einstein had talked about this a long time ago, so I'm sure he's, looking down on this and smiling.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always watching on his, Galactic Spirit TV.
Yeah.
Wherever he might
be.
Pretty
much, black hole gets its name because the singularity sucks up all the light around it, so every ray of light, every photon that goes in it, bends toward the hole and gets completely removed from the universe. So it just sucks everything up in its wake. Casting a shadow on its surroundings. It does not have a surface, but it removes all the light that goes near it, so it behaves like a dark object.
Yeah.
It's they're speculating as to why we haven't seen this until recently. They're very small, is what it's saying here, but they're just surrounded by the gas and the swirling material. So, several thousands light years away. So,
well, if you read the story about how they did it, it was kind of like a planet-wide effort with all the, telescopes all over the world, and it took them almost 2 years to process the image. So all these people have been taking these photos collectively for a long time, and then they had just this giant photo, and then it took them years to assemble it, which is kind of fascinating. And so
it's cool too. I mean, how something bigger than ourselves can bring people together. I mean,
sure. Well, at least 200 scientists, so that counts. Yeah. Counts for something.
Yeah. It's a shame other things, can't bring everyone together, but we try to remain optimistic, I suppose.
Yeah. I like the cut of your jib, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's keep it positive. One more thing I got here. Hellboy, we have a new Hellboy movie coming out. It's a reboot. It's a idea of a bloody R-rated version sounded pretty good for a while, but now it's not looking so good because it has a 9%. That's a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's not looking too good.
Yeah, a lot of the reason why movies suck is it's simply because of what goes on behind the scenes. And this is pretty much what the case is with the Hellboy. There was a major clash between the director, Neil Marshall, and his producers, Lloyd Levin and Lawrence Gordon. Marshall was so unhappy, in fact, with the final product that he didn't even attend the premiere. Over the course of the shoot, many disagreements took place. The producers were constantly undermined. The director in front of everybody, and then the actor, David Harbour, plays Sheriff on Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I'm calling him Sheriff. I don't know. Forgot his name.
No, that's fair. That's it.
He refused to do more takes for the director. He'd walk off the set numerous times, like some prima donna.
Is it that bad?
Yeah. and then some back and forth argument over the design of a tree that supposedly plays a pivotal role in this film took place.
The tree of life.
The cinematographer Sam McCurdy was fired and then replaced by somebody else. McCurdy has a history of working with Marshall. They actually did a episode of Game of Thrones together. So yeah, the producers, of course, have disputed a lot of these claims. They're not really commenting on anything, but they're also saying that David Harbour and co-star Ian McShane, who we all know as Swearingen, they provided some rewrites during the production. So it's funny when the actors have to step up and rewrite some shit. So it's this big hot mess over there, the Hellboy scene.
Well, I guess it's kind of expected. I mean,
yeah,
whenever people are trying to continue a franchise and it wasn't the original guy, they're not too happy about it. The nerds don't like it.
Yeah.
I personally don't care. I didn't really enjoy Hellboys, so
yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
I met a cat that looked like Ron Perlman once.
Yeah, I've seen several cats that look like him. In fact, like it's every cat. I'm like checking out the side profile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, that's my news.
That's your news. So I only have one thing I wanted to mention. Dave Bautista. Him from Drax, like in Guardians, all that kind of stuff.
He's great.
So he's in a new movie, and it's based on a book called The Killer's Game. And I just wanted to tell you what the premise was, just to get your opinion. So basically, the premise is that The Killer's Game follows a veteran hitman named Joe Flood, who is informed by his doctor that he only has a few months to live, so he puts out an open contract on his own life, right? However, he discovers that the lab made a mistake and he's actually in perfect health, which forces him to battle an army of assassins out to kill him. So sounds kind of ridiculous, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Okay.
So there it is.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it sounds like something Liam Neeson would be in, or Keanu Reeves.
Of course, yeah. Good
like
old
a John
Liam.
Wick thing, I know.
Yeah.
Watch a 70-year-old man kick some ass.
Same movie, different mode of transportation. Like
Basically.
every time, You do it on a train, on a snowmobile, whatever.
Yeah.
William Neeson doing it again.
William Neeson, get it done.
All right.
So what are we talking about this week? What'd you do? What do you got?
Well, I haven't been up to too much on the watching front, to be honest with you, but did a couple things have been catching my eye. I wanted to float your way in the recommendation department.
All right, Dan.
Yeah. So first one I have is it's a documentary on Netflix who just keeps churning out these true crime things. This one though is a little different, I think. It's one of those holy shit every 5 minutes kind of documentaries.
Oh, really? So what's it called?
Well, it's called Abducted in Plain Sight.
That's right. You told me to watch this one and I failed.
Oh. Yeah, so
okay.
I don't want to give it the whole thing away, but I'll just kind of running down exactly what happened.
Is there a lot of spoilers in it?
I wouldn't necessarily call them spoilers. I mean, any kind of cursory internet search would pull up exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And they even kind of tell what happens in like the tagline of the thing on Netflix. So it's not so much like you kind of go in knowing what's going on. So it's basically like a girl is abducted by her neighbor, not once, but twice.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of where it leads to. It begins in 1974. We have a kidnapping of, at that time, she's 12 years old, Jan Broberg. And she is, what makes the documentary even more crazy is that she's being interviewed in it, along with their family members who are still around. So we have the parents, and then we have like the sister. There's a neighbor, his name's Robert Berchtold. He's very creepy. He has a family and kids of his own. He kind of takes a shine to Jan, and he starts like taking her places.
Is that your term? You're taking a shine into her.
She's taking a shine. That boy's got the shining.
Yeah.
You like ice cream, Doc?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Robert Berchtold, he's basically telling the parents, like, I'm going to take her camping, and the parents are totally down with it. The guy is so like sociopathic that he gets to the parents first. He charms them, and then gains their trust completely. And then they're just letting Jan go all over the place with this guy. So what basically happens is like, and she kind of remembers a lot of this. It's like coming back is that, he tells the parents that he's taking her horseback riding, and then he gives her allergy pill, which is actually a drug. Fakes their death, and then he takes her to Mexico, and then things just get so crazy after that. There's like, she wakes up and she's like, confined to this bed. She's all drugged up, and there's a speaker next to the bed, and it's like emitting this alien voice. Do you want me to go through the whole thing?
No, go for it. Whatever.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, it's been out for a little while.
Yeah. So, so basically like, and I saw this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not like going, just basically the highlights. And then, he comes in and tells her like, okay, like basically we've been abducted by aliens, and they're going to destroy the whole planet, unless, we basically get together. You know what I mean? And he basically like brainwashes her
class
over the course
act
of a couple of weeks. Yeah, this guy's super creepy. So it's like, like they basically like they find out, what's going on. The parents are like attempting to repeat like their lack of intervention, which basically, happens like, and like you just feel kind of disgusted with these parents. The guy actually like ended up sleeping in her bed at some point later on, because like they do get found. They get, he's returned back to the United States. He serves like a couple months in prison, and they don't press charges. And this is just the first time. Don't press charges. And then, he claims that he has this therapy that he has to go through, where he has to like, he says he was abused and all this stuff when he was a kid, and he has to go through this therapy where he has to like sleep in the daughter's bed. So again, he's back in their life. He's still next door, and the parents consent to this. So it's just kind of like, it just kind of goes on from there. Not too much of like the courtroom thing. It's like, like she disappears again, and then she's so brainwashed that she doesn't really even, she's like fooled into thinking like she needs to be with this guy or whatever. So it's really kind of tragic on that end. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's kind of a different, it's like an hour and 20 minutes.
So where does the name come from though? It's like because they have this thing worked out with the family.
Well,
so it sounds like the parents are in the know.
Well, the parents don't know that he's abducting her, but until it happens. But it's like, it's basically because like he's ingratiated himself so much into their favor that like he just basically steals her under their nose.
Oh, so he's got her in the house, and they don't know it's him.
Yeah, well, it's like he convinces at some point, because she's sharing a room with her sister. So he convinces the parents, like, yeah, I think you guys need a wall up between, the rooms. So he like builds a wall in the bedroom, and the parents are going along with everything. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Build a wall. And then he starts like hanging out in the room with her, like she falls asleep. She wakes up. He's laying there next to her. Not like, and he kind of like at one point he does rape her, but it's like he does it in a way to where he doesn't leave any trace. So it's like, the first time they find, they do tests on her and stuff. They don't find any, evidence of semen or anything. So it's like basically all this stuff's happening under the parents' nose, and the fact that they don't press charges the first time, that there's like, not a lot of stuff, to the contrary, that he did this stuff, to her. It happens again to the point where she's just kind of brainwashed. She's 56 now. So it's like, she does remember a lot of this stuff, but,
so it took place a while ago.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Okay.
So, and then like he eventually gets put in jail for a while, and then he commits suicide at some point. So,
well,
yeah.
Is it worth watching?
I mean, just for the sheer like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like this, it's told interestingly, like where it has like the reenactments, but they're not like the corny ass like 80s like Unsolved Mysteries type reenactments.
Sure.
So it's not like everybody's talking, like, reenacting the scene. It's just like, we went here, we went there, and they show like, the footage, and it's kind of grainy and stuff. But so they do a good job like recreating that kind of thing, kind of like they do in Cocaine Island, what we talked about last week.
Yeah, very similar approach,
So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but it goes by really quick, and it's just like, whether you know what's going on or not, you're still kind of engaged. It's just, you never really get to the bottom though of like why these parents, I mean, they're of course they're remorseful, but it's like they're so like naive and trusting.
Well, I mean, is there
They
any
were
reason?
snowed by this guy.
Was there like signs that they missed?
Well, yeah, dude, they're like all over the place. It's like the guy's sleeping in her bed. So it's like,
I gotcha.
Like it's like that's all. They're all okay with that stuff.
How old was she?
The first time she was abducted, she was 12.
And then the second time,
like 16.
God. Well, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's like the second go. Yeah, I mean, like the second go round, it's like, yeah, we're okay. They're friends again, but then he's like, they're kind of blackmailing, and then like he's like, well, I know where Jan is, and then she ends up calling them at some point, but it's like she sounds really like kind of like out of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they're like, well, come home. We want you to come home, and they didn't report anything for a long time, so it's kind of like doesn't make them look very good whatsoever.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude.
Well, I mean, I saw it, and I saw the little cover image, and I was like, well, what's this about? And then is this like, you go to the park, and all of a sudden your kid's missing, and it happened in plain sight, but, little do you know, it's like, no, it's your neighbor.
It's your neighbor. Yeah.
It's your neighbor.
And it is a time, like in, right around that time, but more like with the Manson thing, because that changed a lot for, like, suburban culture, especially, where it's like, people were like, oh, we always leave our doors unlocked, and we're very trusting of everybody. And then like the Manson stuff changed that. And then in the 70s and the 80s, like a lot of these like serial killers and stalker things started happening. So that's where people started getting a little more guarded, buying guns, locking their doors. But apparently with this family, they just kind of missed all the signs. So it's very unfortunate, but
yeah,
it sucks.
Well, I'll check it out.
Check it out.
Abducted in Plain Sight.
Sure you will.
Yeah, I might.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I'll get to it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Okay, yeah. Hey.
I believe you.
Okay.
I believe you.
I know. I believe you.
I believe you.
All right.
All right, Dan.
So what else? Is that it or what? What else we got?
I think that's it. We're done.
Okay.
I don't know. You're driving. You're driving the truck.
You didn't watch another movie, or?
I might have.
Okay.
Did you?
So yeah.
What else did you watch?
Something about why am I doing all the legwork here?
This is a Ryan Harsch review, man.
Yeah, okay. That was a joke.
Oh,
I need you to help. You complete me when it comes to this podcast.
Yeah. I'm working on it, man. I'm working.
Passing the torch to you now.
No.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I'm gonna stay quiet till you kick it off.
At Eternity's Gate, about Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Attorney's Gate, Vincent van Gogh. You had me watch this one.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe nominated for Best Actor.
That's true.
Directed by Julian Schnabel, who is an artist himself. He also did Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so his kind of art is a little different. Like, I remember seeing him. He did like a whole big mural that was basically like broken plates.
Wait,
like
so Diving Bell and the Butterfly, real quick, isn't that the one where the guy just like had his eyeball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he had that.
That was the only thing that could work was his eye.
Yeah, I mean, like he had that locked in syndrome, which so it's like.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it just kind of happened out of nowhere, almost like a kind of a stroke, an extreme stroke. Yeah, and it's like he had to only communicate through one eye. So it's like they developed a whole like alphabet for him, and the nurse and whoever had to like kind of interpret everything that he did. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I saw that one, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So what'd you think of this movie?
So I did a little bit of research. So, I would say to tee it up, it's about Vincent van Gogh. It's not like it does kind of cover this larger arc of his life. It kind of captures, it picks up at some point when he's like already like a painter.
Right.
But I mean, I always, like I mentioned, like on our last episode, I always like when I watch something and I'm like, let me do a little bit of research. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I did the same with this one.
Yeah. And so, it's kind of like, okay, so, Van Gogh was a nobody his whole life and never got credit or popularity or any of that kind of stuff. People didn't really understand him. And so, with that being said, it was kind of like, it's kind of tragic, like one of the most tragic artists, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Right. So it picks up somewhere like along his lifespan and then goes all the way up into his death. But the thing so it's a weird movie from the point of view where I'm kind of like, why does this feel like Blair Witchy, And it's like very handheld, kind of artsy fartsy in a lot of places.
Totally.
Some empty dialogue, and then but it's
a lot of scenes of him just like walking around in the woods.
It's really bleak. But it kind of starts to kind of pick up like a understandable tone after a while. And I mean, I thought Dafoe was great, but like afterwards, I was like, did he get nominated for this? I mean, he did fine, but I didn't think he did great. Like it was a simple role. You know what I mean? There wasn't a whole lot other than him having his like weird mental breakdowns and stuff. And then I liked Oscar Isaac. He was looking like a Three Musketeer in it. And then
it was Gauguin.
Yeah. And then you also had who was it?
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Best name ever.
Yeah, he was the priest. And I feel like there's one more person I'm not mentioning. His brother. His brother was from Homeland, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Whoever that guy.
Friend, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to say I enjoyed it would be a stretch. I didn't hate it. I'm like totally impartial to it. But after, I mean, I'll share something in a minute that I read about it. I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Sure. I started kind of liking it when they started having similar discussions about, what art is and, his approach to art and all that kind of stuff. But I also kind of have a hard time, because I just watched that Picasso show, on Nat Geo, Genius, right?
Uh-huh.
I want to paint you. Eight or nine episodes of Antonio Banderas, just some insufferable bastard. By the time you're like, oh, I don't even care what happens to you, pal.
This guy's a prick.
Yeah. I have a hard time, but I'm also envious because all this dude wants to do is paint. That's it.
Yeah.
His life is that simple. And I always think it's really interesting when creatives or artists are so infatuated with like just one thing. Whereas me, I'm jumping over to millions of different things. Like I can't stay on one thing. I'm like, I just want to learn. Whereas this guy's like, I got one lane and I'm going to hit it.
You sure?
And
you got to admire that.
Yeah. But and his younger brother, supported him because he basically just broke his whole life. Mm-hmm. No money. And they kind of capture a strong feeling of like how simple that is. He's not bathing or anything like that. And then, he's just, he had like nobody really knew what he had, but he was kind of schizophrenic in some ways.
That's kind of what I think the movie did a good job of too, was showing like the portrayal of like mental illness in that time period. Did you notice how they were like treating people in the hospital? With my work, we did a tour recently of Patton State Hospital, which is one of the biggest mental hospitals. And they told us that used to be a popular treatment in mental hospitals where they put them in a bathtub and they'd put like a board down over you where it's just your head sticking out. And that was just kind of like, it was like a water treatment thing. I mean, they were just trying all kinds of shit, because they didn't really know what was, people grew up with mental illness at these times. Like, it was like witches, and then it was like, they got evil demons inside of them and stuff. And it's so no one really knew, like, until psychology came along, no one could really explain it. So it's like, that was kind of one of the things they were doing to people, like, thankfully he didn't get like lobotomized or anything, which was also happening. So
yeah, that was on the table, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it did a good job of portraying that, and also like, I like these kind of period movies. So this movie was actually filmed in a lot of the areas that, where it took place, which I think it lent to that authenticity. So you really get wrapped up in like the beauty of his surroundings and what may or may not have inspired him, but it's through this lens also of, basically like kind of, like schizophrenia or bipolar or something like that, that he was suffering from pretty much his entire life.
Yeah, that's a period piece. I mean, definitely for sure, because he was Dutch, and then he was in France.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, it doesn't even tell you what year it is right away, and you kind of go into it. It doesn't like give you any context of anything. You're just kind of like,
you have to kind of do your homework a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. What did you think of Defoe's performance? Because it's really, he's playing somebody that nobody knows anything about. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of obscure.
I think he did a good. I like some of the stuff he's done. I think he did a good job. But it's like that kind of tortured artist thing's been done a lot. Or just kind of like it doesn't seem. It's like to play crazy. It's just something a lot of people do, and I don't want to like hype it up or anything and make it seem like it's difficult or easy. It's just it is what it is. I think it did okay. Van Gogh's like one of my favorite artists, so it's like it was interesting, if anything, to see his portrayal of it. I can't really think of anyone else, and he kind of looks like the guy.
Yeah, he did. He did a good job looking like him.
Yeah, that kind of helps. But I think he did all right, like you said.
He did all right.
Yeah.
What did you? So let me pull up this. So I did a little bit of research, kind of going like, all right, what the hell is this movie about, right?
Yeah.
And so here's what I got. So the director, was it Julian Schnabel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was doing interviews about the Van Gogh film, and he said it is impossible to explain, right? So the title, this is like on Hollywood Reporter. Julian Schnabel says Van Gogh film at Attorney's Gate is impossible to explain. So I'm like, well, that's great.
Which basically means like, I'm going to give you something and you just have to figure it out on your own here, folks.
That's basically it. Yeah.
It's like,
from Minnesota. You got to figure it out on your own, folks.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Hey there.
So it basically, the movie is intended to be experienced more as like a work of art than a film. So, so here's what he said, quote, like when he was talking about this. First of all, everybody thinks they know everything about Vincent van Gogh, so it seems absolutely unnecessary and absurd to make a movie about him.
Good point.
Right, because everybody thinks they know. At the end of the expedition, you walk out and have the cumulative effect of what happened to you. That was the structure that we decided to take on this. They were vignettes that we created to create conversations that we had about what could have happened. I know more than most people, probably because I've been a painter since I was a child and I've read all his letters. If you ask me to explain the movie, I would say it's impossible. If you give a reason for it, you're already lying. What we tried to do was make an equivalent somehow to a feeling that's possible that you could get when you're observing a work of art. So it goes on to talk about a little bit more about the painter's mind. One of the things that the movie addresses in some way was this notion of fearing that you're going mad. There's kind of a Jacob's Ladder effect of, black stoppages in a movie where you kind of come out of it and go back in. And when you're sitting in the audience, that seemed to make you feel like you were in his shoes. On Van Gogh, on Van Gogh's State of Mind, Defoe said he was absolutely inspiring and absolutely lucid in what he talked about. I related to it very much. And Defoe also went, I think the difficulties came when he had these special visions and he couldn't quite reconcile that with how to share it with people. with more prosaic things about career and social things, sexual things, that was the struggle. Almost done here. But I think he even recognized that rather than tortured genius artist, I think he even spoke quite vividly about the value, about the difficulties in your life as a teacher. He talked about how even sickness can heal us. I think the main thing that inspired me was that he was beyond dualistic thinking and he was beyond criticism. So I'll save this last part here because, like in the movie, they have their version of his death, right?
Yeah, okay. So
right,
it's like a conspiracy theory.
Nobody really knows how he died.
But just for a minute, like what you just read, like if that was his goal, then I think he had definitely achieved it. Because I mean, the movie, it's not so much a film as it is like a piece of art on a wall. And as far as going crazy, yeah, like halftime, some points in the movie, I felt like I was going nuts just watching some of this stuff, you know? So, I mean, yeah, it's like, I think he achieved that pretty well if that was his goal and his intention. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so that was, but in the death, like people said that he shot himself and then died a couple days later, right?
Right.
So, the director says, quote, "If he killed himself or if he didn't is irrelevant to me. I think all history is a lie. And if you watch the movie Rashomon, you got 5 different stories of the same event. I would not get hung up on that." So really what he was kind of saying is that it was a pleasure to create their own version of what they believed happened, but admitted that they were no witnesses or evidence at the time, so no one really knows what happened. So I mean, this guy just shows up in town with a bullet hole in him, doesn't own a gun, and
he's poor as hell.
People don't really know what's going on.
I mean, he kind of sound like the way, if you read about him a little bit, he kind of like the town drunk. You know what I mean? Like he was quite fond of his absinthe. So much so that like he cut his ear off while in an absinthe like rage, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know what absinthe is?
It's like the alcohol?
Well, yeah, it's basically it's illegal in America. It's comes from wormwood, which is a hallucinogenic. So, basically like, people drinking absinthe, it's like they have these crazy hallucinations and things like that. So probably didn't help him if he was already schizophrenic or bipolar.
Gotcha.
So that he was quite fond of the absinthe. But yeah.
Yeah, he was a drunk, right?
Yeah. Well,
It didn't show it though. It barely showed him drinking.
Yeah. But I mean, like it was kind of like that was the popular conception. But maybe this movie, like you said, with the murder. So like, what happened with the murder? Like we are all, and this is something new I learned from the movie, because I always thought he did kill himself.
Yeah.
He took one of those old like pirate guns and shot himself in the chest or something, or in the stomach, and then died from it. That's pretty much all I know.
You mean a blunderbuss?
Yeah, right. Or with those little those pirate
that's
pistols.
A blunderbuss.
The small ones.
I think so. Well, I don't know about the little small ones that like the ladies have in their little boot and they pull it out.
No, not that small. It's like kind of like it looks like a smaller sawed-off shotgun, maybe.
All right, well, let's look up blunderbuss. Hold on.
Okay,
Blunderbuss.
Blunderbuss, I thought was like a precursor to the musket.
A short-barreled, large-bore gun with a flared muzzle used at short range. And then the first video I see has got some Scottish dude with like a beret and like some like animal hide just covering the shoulders but leaving like the arms exposed.
Yeah.
And he's like holding it up all proud, like, here we go.
So like crazy when you read about the history of guns. Because it's like the original gun, it's like it takes like a minute to load, first of all. So you're like, when you're gonna shoot somebody, you're gonna be like, hold on a minute, like packing this shit in. And then when you shoot those guns, it would be basically like throwing a curveball. So it's like the thing's not going straight, and you don't know if it's gonna do anything.
That's why
when
duels were legit back then, because there's a lot of randomness to it. It's like, I'll duel you. I mean, it's like you're gonna point in my direction, but
it doesn't mean you might shoot you in the leg or something.
The other definition of blunderbuss is an action or way of doing something regarded as lacking in subtlety and precision. In other words, quote, economists resort too quickly to the blunderbuss of regulation.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't think anyone uses that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So is that an Urban Dictionary
No,
or
but
something?
let's look up Urban Dictionary. Urban Dictionary.
Blunderbuss.
Big old medieval ancestor of the shotgun used by the original colonial gangstas. Looks like a trumpet that you stuff with gunpowder. Hand over your golden jewelry, damn wench, before I blunderbuss your ass into oblivion.
Pop a blunderbuss.
That's kind of stretching it for
you know what I'm saying?
That's really stretching.
It's like
Urban Dictionary.
It's like multi syllables. You know, by the time you get the word out, they've already called the cops. So it's kind of like,
well,
come on.
They've got also a urban definition for dirty blunderbuss, and I will not read it on this podcast. So
Probably
don't look it up.
Related to rusty trombone or anything?
I don't even know, but that's pretty disgusting. There's a Chicago blunderbuss.
We'll let our friends at the Not for Human Consumption podcast handle that one. we'll toss that hot potato over that way.
Yeah, there you go, Alan.
Dirty blunderbuss.
Yeah. So
wow,
there you have
it. Blunderbuss. Anyway, where were we?
We were talking about Vincent
the
van
death
Gogh.
of Van Gogh, right?
Yeah.
Bringing it back. So so the common misconception was that he did shoot himself, but then then the question is like, well, how did he get a gun?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds more likely that he got shot because there's that scene earlier where he's like being super aggressive with the girl because he wants her to lay down to take his photo, and then he gets arrested.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy.
It's like, all right, pal, reel it in. It doesn't help that the camera's like 2 inches from his face. So,
it's like, dude, back off a little bit. It's like that's like half the time I was like, damn, dude.
So I'm sure something similar happened, and he got a little too handsy or a little too fresh, and someone tuned him up.
Yeah. But what's the real conspiracy? Like, do you know about this real conspiracy?
Well, the only other conspiracy I know about is that notebook or that journal.
Well, basically, this book came out in 2011. These authors pretty much fronted this conspiracy theory. So they basically said, Van Gogh was like, he talked about extensively in his journal how suicide was sinful and immoral. So he couldn't have really like killed himself. They also questioned how he could have traveled like a mile-long distance between a wheat field and the inn after he got a fatal stomach wound, how he could have gotten the gun. We already talked about that, and then why the painting gear was never found by the police. So the alternative hypothesis these authors floated is that he was killed. He was a victim of accidental manslaughter or foul play. So remember those kids at the end, like the cowboy thing?
Yeah.
So basically, it was like some kids some young adults in their region in this town he was in, that he knew the boys and that they may have shot him after they were drinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had a gun and like apparently malfunctioned or something like that. One of the kids liked to play cowboy. They all had too much to drink, and then basically in the 30s, an art historian visited this French province, Avers, and recorded the version of the events. And then, like, Van Gogh actually said he welcomed death. He believed the boys had done him a favor. The last thing he said was, "Do not accuse anyone. It is I who wanted to kill myself."
Being all artsy.
Yeah, right?
It is I.
And then, like, apparently I read something else somewhere that one of the boys, like, he wrote a letter, like, much longer. He wrote some piece later on saying that he probably did do it. It's just like,
He probably killed him.
That absinthe kind of messes with your mind.
Yeah.
Your memory. So that was interesting. Because, no one really, at that time period, it's like no one really knows.
Mm-hmm.
People would die all the time back then.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me that, the author is embellishing it or providing his point of view. It's like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, if I wanted to read some historical thing that did that, like, sure, shit, not going to watch a movie. Like, get a book, do some research.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people these days, they just read one thing and it's like, that's the truth. And it's like, okay, you don't bother to go look up other shit. multiple sources.
That's it.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, you read that article. It says everything right there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bother to go read other sources or, academic or, journal articles or anything like that. So I think that's kind of where this film is unique, and we've talked about that with other movies too, like Green. I think we had the same discussion with Green Book, where a movie is one form of art, and art like Van Gogh in this case is an impression. It's how you look at the world, it's how you interpret the events, and that's your impression. And in this case, the impression is the director's, because he co-wrote it too. So
yeah,
just wish that camera would back up a little bit.
Yeah, I know, it's all up in his grill. Like, I don't need to see his nasty ass feet.
Yeah, we knew what happened.
Yeah, ease up.
Yeah, but I think it's a good movie. It is challenging, but it's something different, No,
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It kind of was like you're on pills or something watching it. So like they did a good job. I mean, there's even moments where like
you're on pills.
I mean, I was kind of dealing with a migraine. I was like really tired. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this on. Wonders. And I was like, I better sit up, like 15 minutes in, because I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep.
Vertigo starts to set in.
Oh, yeah. And then like there's parts where like the screen on the bottom half's all blurry and the top is not. And you're like rubbing your eyes going, what the hell?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, there's just a bunch of weird visual things that are just like subtle. So it's very clever,
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me it didn't get a whole lot of attention. It was just kind of like that's nice, but
total art movie.
It did, it's a total art house movie. I wouldn't say it was Oscar bait, to be honest. Didn't feel that way because it stayed pretty authentic to what they wanted to do.
It seems like nowadays with the Oscars too, they always throw in that one indie movie.
Yeah.
Like I think like a couple years ago was that silent movie. I was like, I couldn't bring
Silence
myself to
with
watch.
Scorsese?
No, the artist or whatever.
Oh, the artist, the black and white one?
Yeah, or it's like dude playing piano and shit.
That was a while ago, wasn't it?
Well, okay, whatever, 5-10 years ago maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was a while ago.
Yeah. Like Van Gogh, my sense of time is distorted, people.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like they're always throwing in that like extra, like that little wild card. Hey, it's a indie movie. People might, but it's not always the case. It's not those movies aren't for everybody. So, and this movie definitely is not for everybody. So, but I do recommend it if you are into Van Gogh. If you want to see something different, if you don't mind the camera being right up in someone's grill, then check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Now what?
That's it. Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones Harsch podcast.
Oh, that's true, huh? That's
By
happening
the time this
Sunday.
podcast airs,
God.
Game of Thrones will be upon us.
We're either going to gain people that listen to the show or leave.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I've returned to the books, and I'm like plowing through book 4.
Oh, you are? You're on a mission.
Yeah,
you're hammering it?
I'm trying, man. I'm not going to be able to do it by Sunday. It's like another 1,000 pages.
Dude, that guy's pages are like liquid, like paper quaaludes, dude. They'll just put you out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's good reading. I mean, I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the big. I mean, it's going to be Game of Thrones. It's going to be Avengers. But we'll find some other things to check out.
Yeah, that's true.
Some interesting things coming up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what's on your radar? Anything?
Well, I mean, I know we got Avengers coming around the corner. I've got a few different things on my list that I watched. I mean, I watched some show. It's on. I think it's on Hulu. It's about what the hell is it called? You see how prepared I am.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I seriously watched it like a month ago, and I've been meaning to go like, why am I not talking about this? Or maybe I did. I'm just forgetting it. But it's about these 3 kids who are adopted. Did you hear about this?
No.
And so these 3 kids were adopted like in the 70s, or just different people were adopted. And so this one guy, he's a single kid, in a single parent type family. He knows he's adopted or whatever, and he goes to school and like off to college, right? So he's like 18,
right.
and everybody is like, "Hey man, great to see you back. How you doing?" Coming up, shaking his hands, slapping him, talking to him like they all, he's like, wow, everyone here is like really friendly and really kind to me. And he's just tripping out because everyone's like super nice to him. And then his roommate comes in and his roommate freaks out. And he was like, you need to come with me right now. And so he's like, what the hell's going on? And then he goes like, what is your name? And he tells him his name. And he's like, I think you have a brother. And he goes, what?
No.
And he's like, yeah, my good friend looks exactly like you. And he stopped going to the school last year. He transferred, so everybody thought it was him. So all of a sudden he finds this twin brother. They drive through the night over to his house, and because he lived a couple hours away. And then they're standing there face to face, and they're both 18, and you meet your twin.
Weird.
And then so they're both having a grand old time, and they're like clones of each other. And then it goes on the news and all that kind of crap. And then on the news, somebody else sees it, calls in, and goes like, "Hey, I think I'm your brother." And so there's there's a third one. So they find it, and sure as shit, there's a 18-year-old dude that looks exactly like these twins. And they're triplets.
Damn.
So they're triplets that were separated at birth, and then they were, all adopted independently by different people, all kind of in the greater New Jersey, New York era. And this was like in the, that happened in the 70s.
Okay.
But the plot thickens, so I'm gonna spoil it a little bit for you, but you got to watch it because it's kind of
if
interesting.
I knew the name of it.
Yeah, I'll give you the name. You just type in, like, they're like popular. I mean, they're on like Phil Donahue and Oprah or whatever. Triplets, Hulu. Let's see what it says. Three
Hulu
Identical
Triplets.
Strangers. Yeah, that's what it's called. Three Identical Strangers. I probably could have guessed a better name. So the plot twist, and this isn't like a huge spoiler, but it kind of is. But I mean, oh well, it's been out for a while. Just hit stop if you're gonna freak out. You're like, oh my god, I must know.
No, yeah.
Is that a science company was conducting research on them their entire lives, trying to define if you split up triplets or twins, and how similar are they being raised in independent conditions. So when the parents gave them up for adoption, it was like, hey, they need to be adopted together. And the company was like, yep, no problem. Sign these forms, you can never know who, and this kind of stuff. And they actually separated them. And so they were doing this to conduct research. So then the kids start recalling, like, I remember people coming by every few weeks and spending, like, strangers spend time with me. He's taking photos, documenting stuff, all these kinds of things. And that kind of went on for the better part of their entire childhood.
Sure.
Up until the point to where, once they started like digging in and finding out, there's like red tape like crazy, and then there's like government stuff going on, and then it just gets really weird. But it's a true story, and then it starts getting very tragic in different ways with like things that happen in each of their lives, and these three guys though, like you get pretty sick and tired of them, like halfway through. Like
they're annoying. Like, do they finish each other's sentences?
Oh, they're so annoying. Yeah,
God.
I mean, they're just loving life, like staring at like their triplets, and then
like the doublemint twins plus one.
Yeah, doublemint, triplemint. Because they had a restaurant called like Triplets or something in New York, and they're all walking around, and they got like
milk it a little more.
Oh, they milked it hard. They got like a Pet Boys looking logo, and
jeez,
so they were really popular. But the documentary's on Hulu. It's pretty entertaining. I mean, I clicked on it going like, what the hell's this? Yeah. And then they start talking about it, and they kind of hook you right away. You're like, okay, tell me more. And then it's them actually doing it, because they're way older now.
Yeah.
But check it out.
Okay.
That's it. That was the one
Nice.
that was the one that got away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Well, take us home there, brother.
Yeah. So, Harsch Review Podcast. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram. You can donate to us on Patreon. And we'll be talking to you next week about probably Game of Thrones Episode 1. And I don't know, anything else you want to talk about, Sean?
No.
Something?
No, yeah.
We'll come up with
add
we'll
something.
Come up with something. Yeah. I think I'm going to be seeing you pretty soon here, too.
Yeah, I'll come visit you for a day or so.
Okay, thanks, man.
And then I'll be out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. As always, I'm your host, Ryan.
I'm Sean.
And we'll see you at the movies.
I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
Bye.
Yeah. Later.